What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Make sure to subscribe and sack that like button, and let's get right into it. There's some injuries I want to address throughout the video, but I'm not going to talk about them all now at the beginning. I'm going to talk about them as I get to the team that the injury is for. So yeah, this is going to be my post Week 13 power rankings. Without further ado, let's begin. Make sure to subscribe and sack that like button. Think I already said that. Alright, coming in at number 32. The Lions, they got their first win of the season in heroic fashion on the final play against their division rival, the Vikings. The Lions really frustrate me because, I picked them to beat the Bears. They didn't. And now against the Vikings, I almost picked them to beat the Vikings. I was going to pick them. I was going to pick the Vikings. I was going to pick the Lions. I had a gut feeling the Lions were going to get this one. But I was like, nah, it's the Lions. They're always going to find a way to lose, and the Vikings are just a better team. But sure enough, the Lions won, so yeah. At number 31, the Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence's rookie years continuing to be a disaster. At number 30, the Texans. A team like the Texans, this is a great example of what happens when you have no quarterback, no defense, a terrible coach, terrible ownership, and terrible everything. This is what happens. At number 29, the Jets. They just got lit up by Gardner Minshew. You know it's bad when that happens. Well, more on Minshew mania when we get to the Eagles. At number 28, the Bears. Andy Dalton did not play well. A lot of it wasn't his fault, but 4 picks is 4 picks. At number 27, the Giants. They were in a low-scoring. Well, they were held a low amount of points against the Dolphins. Mike Glennon obviously is not going to cut it, and obviously they want Daniel Jones to be back, but you got to wonder, is this team going to pick up the fifth-year option on Daniel Jones? I mean, this is already his second head coach, his third offensive coordinator, and he has a plethora of weapons. I mean, they have a lot of great players. They have Kenny Galladay, they have Sterling Shepard, they have Kadarius Toney, they got Kyle Rudolph, they got Saquon Barkley. At what point, and their own line isn't that bad anymore. At what point are you going to start blaming Daniel Jones at this point? At number 26, the Seahawks got a win over their division rival, the Niners. Their win served to no purpose other than just ruin the Niners' path to the playoffs. At number 25, the Saints. Well, now I think we know why Jameis Winston beat out Taysom Hill for the job in the preseason. At number 24, the Falcons. They just got lit up by the Buccaneers, no surprise, and their offense continues to struggle. At number 23, another NFC South team in the Panthers. They were on a bye week this week. Be interesting to see how the quarterback situation plays out there. At number 22, the Vikings. Ever since that massive win against the Packers, things have not gone well for them. At number 21, the Eagles, who may have a quarterback controversy brewing there. With Minshew Mania playing very, very good in his first game for them as a starter, and Jalen Hurts had been struggling, only putting up 7 points against the Giants. There may be a quarterback controversy there, but you do got to look at it as Minshew is going up against arguably the worst defense in the NFL, arguably. So, in my opinion, Jalen Hurts should still be the starter for that team. At number 20, I got the Dolphins, who have won 5 in a row, but again, I don't think this is going. They're making it to the playoffs. For them to make it to the playoffs, I believe they're going to have to go 10-7, which means they would need to win every game left, and I don't see that happening. At number 19, the Washington football team, another team that's on a big win streak, but they need to keep on winning. They got a big game against Dallas this week. Won in a low-scoring defensive battle against the Raiders, though, this week. At number 18, the Broncos, who were 1 win away from, believe it or not, being in first place in the AFC West, but they are now, I believe, now in last place. I don't think this team's going to make the playoffs, and they have a really good roster. There's no doubt about it, but the quarterback situation is a major problem because the answer is definitely not Drew Lock, and it's definitely not Teddy Bridgewater. They need a quarterback this coming off season, and I think they also need to fire Vic Fangio. Vic Fangio sucks. At number 17, the Raiders. They just lost to Washington. This is just starting to be classic Raiders. Good start, good first half of the season, or just good start to the season, and then midway through the season, heading into the stretch, they just completely collapse. And I think this has got to be Derek Carr's last year there. I mean, how many more chances are they going to give Derek Carr? I get it's not entirely his fault, and in a lot of big games, he's actually showed up and played well. But at one point, are you just going to say, all right, let's rebuild? I think it's got to be after this year. Then at number 16, the Browns. They had a bye week this week, getting ready to play the Ravens next week, and they played the Ravens last week, so back-to-back. They got back-to-back games against the Ravens, but they do have a bye week in between, which was this past week. At number 15, the 49ers. The 49ers really fooled me. I finally thought this team may have been turning the corner, and nope, they did not. They lost to the Seahawks, and I expect them to lose their next couple of games. They got the Bengals. Then they may beat the Falcons, and then they'll probably lose to the Titans. I don't think the 49ers will make it to the playoffs, unfortunately, and it's a shame because this is a team that is way better than what they seem to be. But, if you can't beat the Seahawks, I get it's your rival and blah, blah, blah this and blah, blah, blah that. Bottom line is you just lost to a 3-8 team. At number 14, the Colts. They got a shutout over the Texans, but is that really something to be bragging about? I don't know if this team can make it into the postseason, because in order for them to make it in, they're going to need to outdo either the Chargers, Bengals, or Bills in record-wise to be able to do so. At number 13, the Steelers. They just got a massive win over the Ravens. A lot of people criticized me in the comment section for picking the the Steelers over the Ravens. And look, I was right. Lamar Jackson really did not show up, played terrible, missing receivers all over the place, overthrowing passes, underthrowing passes, not making the right read. And then on his final play of the game, to top it off, he throws a easy completion to Mark Andrews for the game winner and misses him. Sure, Mark Andrews could have caught that anyway, but it should have been a better throw. That's more so on Lamar Jackson's fault than Mark Andrews' fault. And you know that Lamar Jackson's right now at 16 touchdowns passes, or 17 touchdown passes, and like 14 or 15 interceptions. And I remember everyone was saying a few weeks ago that he was better than Mahomes, and he may be actually the best quarterback in the NFL, or top 3. Yep. And number at number 12, the Bengals. They just got shellacked by the Chargers. I mean, they made it somewhat respectable. It was 24-0, and then they made a run at the Chargers, 24-22, and then a Joe Mixon fumble broke it all wide open. They wound up losing 41-22. A battle between two young quarterbacks that I really like, and I both think they have a bright future in Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow. I don't think this game should discourage Bengals fans. I still think this team is a playoff team. I think they just got off in a hole early, and they actually almost got out of it, but then they dug themselves back in another hole. I still think that they are a good team. But then at number 11, the Chargers, they just beat the Bengals, as we just mentioned. Their offense is looking good. At least they bounced back from that game against the Broncos last week. At number 10, the Bills, whose run defense basically, I mean, it looked like I was watching an NFL team playing a college team when it came to the Patriots offense versus the Bills defense. I mean, look, someone who looks at the final score and didn't watch the game would think, oh, it was a low-scoring game. The Bills defense played well. No, it did not play well. The Patriots ran the ball. I believe it was 45 times and only passed it 3 times. Mac Jones threw it 3 times and completed 2. Now, someone who looks at that stat line may think, oh, he must have gotten hurt. What was the backups numbers? Why aren't they showing those? No, Mac Jones played every snap on offense for the Patriots, and he only threw it 3 times, and only once heading into the fourth quarter. And, knowing the psychopath that Bill Belichick is, he probably wishes he would not have passed it those 3 times looking back, and he could have just gotten a win strictly on running. Look, I've been saying this all season long, and I'll get more into this when I get to the Patriots, but the Patriots are a very dangerous team. But going to the Bills, I've been saying this all season long also. This team simply cannot stop the run. I don't understand why teams decide to air it out against them. If you run the ball on them, they're going to get exposed. That's what the Colts did, and the Colts beat them 41-15. That's what the Patriots did, and we all saw what happened last night. That's what the Jaguars did, and they beat them 9-6. That's what the Steelers did and beat them 23-16. And finally, that's what the Titans did. So, the blueprint is very simple. This team is 0-5 when they're facing a team that runs it consistently on them, and they have a undefeated record, they have an undefeated record against teams that are mostly airing it out. Run the ball against the Bills and you will be rewarded. Okay? It's that simple. At number 9, the Cowboys. They were able to get the win over the Saints, but that really was not an impressive win. I know I picked the Saints to win, but a lot of last-second injuries for both sides just completely changed the whole dynamics of the game. I mean, the Saints didn't have Alvin Kamara, Marcus Davenport, Teron Armstead, and they had basically a gadget player at quarterback in Taysom Hill. While I thought the Cowboys weren't going to have CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, and DeMarcus Lawrence, and all 3 of them came back. So the Cowboys had all their people versus the Saints is basically, all their stars gone. Not a very impressive win for Dallas. We'll see what they do against the football team next week. At number 8, the Rams. They were able to get a win over the Jaguars. Really not impressive. At number 7, the Ravens. Disappointing loss for them against Pittsburgh. I don't think it's a panic button kind of a loss. Because Pittsburgh always plays them tough. They easily could have won that game. They just, they let it slip away. But what I do think there is cause for panic for is what is up with Lamar Jackson. This seems to be a theme throughout most of the NFL, though. So, we're seeing a lot of these guys struggling. But Lamar Jackson, watching that game, it was just rough to watch at certain points. At number 6, I got my Kansas City Chiefs. Got a win over the Denver Broncos. Big-time game. It was an important game. Winner would have been first place in the division. And believe it or not, if the Chiefs lost that game, they would not be in the playoff picture right now. The Chiefs' defense continues to dominate every opponent they've faced. The offense is continuing to struggle, and it's concerning. But what makes it a little less concerning is there really is no team right now that's clicking on all cylinders on offense. The Bills aren't. They're not clicking on all cylinders. The Bills aren't clicking on the offensive side of the ball or the defensive side of the ball. The Ravens, same thing. The Titans, same thing. The Patriots are the only ones, but even them, you can question whether or not if this team gets in a shootout and their defense is not holding, can Mac Jones step in there and throw it, 30 to 40 times a game and win in those high-scoring affairs? And I really don't know, and I'm not too confident with that. So that's the good news for the Chiefs, but imagine the Chiefs offense coming back to life with this defense. They won't lose another game. They will win every game left and win the Super Bowl if their offense goes back to 2018 through 2020 form with this defense the way it's playing. And what's really impressive, if you were watching the game Chiefs vs. Broncos, Chris Collins pointed it out. The way this Chiefs defense is operating is very similar to the Patriots defense. You run a whole bunch of different looks at the beginning of the season, and at first, it's going to be tough, but it's going to make you better throughout the season. And once you hit the stretch, which we're in the stretch, you're going to be very dominant because you're going to be throwing so many different looks at offenses, and you're going to know how to execute them all well. So I'm really excited for this Chiefs defense to continue showing what they can do. And number 5, the Titans. They're coming off a bye week. They really need Derrick Henry back. But they're a contender even without him. Julio Jones is coming back. A.J. Brown, I think, was already back. So, this team is still very dangerous. At number 4, the Patriots. I have them as the top team in the AFC. You know, obviously we've talked about them already a bit in this video. You know, running game and defense is what's happening for this game. It's what they've been doing for the last 20-something years with Tom Brady, and that's how they won 6 Super Bowls, running game and defense. At number 3, the Packers. They had a bye week this week. At number 2, the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers, they got the win over the Falcons, no surprise there. They're 9-3. They're in better position this year than they were last year at this point, believe it or not. And Tom Brady continues to play well. You know, he actually was stepping in there and making some great throws. He did throw a lot of checkdowns in that game, but I did see him throw some pretty impressive passes, and you gotta give him credit where credit's due. And then at number 1, the Arizona Cardinals, who now Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins are back, and they picked up right where they left off, and beating the Bears 33-22. Quick note, going back to the Ravens, I forgot to mention Marlon Humphrey is out for the year, and Marcus Peters hasn't been playing all year. I mean, this Ravens secondary is atrocious at this point. I really am looking forward to see how this defense will do without Marlon Humphrey. It's a major shame that Marlon Humphrey got hurt. Great player, and he's a big part to that defense. Yeah, that's going to be a major blow to this Ravens defense. So teams are gonna be able to attack more on those, you know, outside parts of the field where Marlon Humphrey would be usually guarding. But yeah, that's pretty much it for today's video. Comment down below what you guys think about my rankings, and as always, I'll see you guys